It's been a few months at this point, and the dust is now settling on the Samsung Galaxy S24 release. And of all that hype and legit awesome devices, I really think that the S24 regular is the one that I would recommend overall for you to buy. And today I'm going to spend, I don't know, however many minutes going over the reasons for just that. First off, let's get an administrative note out of the way. Nobody is sponsoring this video. Nobody. Is there anybody hiding? Nope, nobody's under my table. Nobody's sponsoring this video. Samsung didn't give me or loan me this phone. I purchased it with my own money. Right into the very first reason to buy the S24 is a macro reason that we'll break down with more specific reasons as we go. Easily summarized, the S24 regular is the best overall combination of the positives of the S24 lineup as a whole. And you get that for the least amount of money. That's pretty much the thesis statement of this entire video right there. Boom! I knew my almost 20-year-old college education would pay off at some point. I am old. From the build quality to the internals, screens, etc., this just gets all the good stuff without almost any drawbacks. Sure, you might be missing out on the stylus from the S24 Ultra, but I really only use that as a fidget clicker, and I don't actually use that to draw. I'm not a drawer. You've seen my handwriting. You've seen how bad it is. Now, narrowing down, this first specific reason to buy the S24 Ultra, plucked from that larger reason, is the price. The base model 128GB version of this phone comes in at $799, and without too much effort, just in researching this video, I was able to find it on sale for $50 off at Best Buy. If you want to get it direct from Samsung, you could get it for even less than that if you have some trade-ins on hand, and Samsung takes a ton of stuff in trade. So it is very realistic that you can get this phone with gigantic chunks taken off of the price. That $799, even at its most expensive, is still $500 cheaper than the S24 Ultra and $200 less than the S24 Plus. Those are pretty big differences when in use. Not much is going to feel all that different between those devices. Well, I guess between the actual size of the phone. Speaking of which is the next reason. This is a great size for cell phones. Yes, the trend in phones over recent years is to go bigger or go homer. Yeah, that's not... Okay, I made that. That's not the saying at all. But phones have noticeably gotten larger over time for bigger and better displays, bigger and better batteries, and crushing the tablet world into dust. Like, why do people even buy tablets anymore? Personally, I go back and forth on what size phone I prefer to carry. Generally, if I'm actually traveling or working, I prefer a smaller phone. And if I'm just sitting at my desk all day long, well then yeah, I don't mind the larger device. I don't care how big it is if it's just gonna sit on my desk all day long. Here, I do think the small size is a big benefit and a selling point of the regular. It still has all of those features that we will get to soon, like DeX, which I like DeX. But I can comfortably carry this around when I'm out running. And look, I hate carrying things when I'm out running. Look at that, that's so much better than the bigger devices. The next reason kind of follows from the size, but the build quality of this phone is superb. I know that this is still a flagship phone, even though it's the cheapest of the S24 lineup, but even though it's the cheapest of that lineup, it does not skimp on the build quality. Everything about this screams quality. The matte metal sides do not attract fingerprints in the slightest, and while the internet apparently sees me as old man shouting at clouds when I talk about smudginess on my tech, this is a big deal for me. The frosted glass back just, real talk. When writing the script, I had a very hard time thinking up how to explain this, but legitimately, though I doubt Samsung watches these videos. It's like Samsung took all of my iPhone feedback from the past few years and put it all physically together into one phone. The combination of the sides and the back here are just, yes, saying something is perfect is hyperbolic, but it's my perfect cell phone design. There's also a heft to this device that feels really good in the hand. Let's take a step back, let me be clear. I'm not saying that this is heavy. This is not like the iPhone Pro lineup that feels overly dense and uncomfortable to use. This has just enough weight to it that combined with its styling, overall, this feels fantastic and it feels high quality. Also, strictly from a nitpicky aesthetic perspective, I think the triple camera array on the S24 looks way better and way less dorky than that tower of power that is the 5-knob array on the back of the S24 Ultra. Don't get me wrong, I really like the S24 Ultra, but the camera setup is kind of rough looking and Again, small nitpick, but I like how my tech has to look good, right? Next reason to buy the S24 regular is you get the same operating system and the same processing power as the S24 Plus and the S24 Ultra. Yes, you are missing out on a bit of RAM from those bigger devices, but I haven't found that to be too detrimental in daily use. The phone is very snappy and very sure in operation. Programs open quickly and run smoothly, and I don't know, is that really a reason to celebrate anymore? I think that's the bar that all cell phones have to make it over, right? Overall, I haven't found the power lacking in my time with the phones, and that you get roughly the same bar chart going up horsepower for way less money, that's the notable difference in this video. It should also feel fast in use, apart from just being fast in use, because the S24 also has a very fast refreshing up to 120 Hz and very bright up to 2600 nits brightness screen, and that makes all the difference. The one big difference we're going to draw between iPhone and Samsung here is that the standard iPhones do not have the same kind of screen capabilities as the bigger, more expensive Pros and Pro Maxes. While the S24 Plus and the S24 Ultra have higher resolution Quad HD displays, the S24 regular again gets you 90% of the way there for 40% less money. And frankly, look, this display is awesome. I've seen a lot of online conversations about how good the bigger displays are, and that's true, but generally in those same conversations, it's implied that the regular's display is lesser some way. And sure, by the technical specification numbers, it is lesser compared to those more expensive phones, but that doesn't mean that this display is bad. It just has really strong competition from its internal family. The next reason to buy the S24 regular is the update schedule. This, and the entire S24 lineup as a whole, has a 7-year update schedule. So Samsung has signed up for providing 7 years of operating systems and security patches to this phone, which is very good. And I'm happy to see that the standard continues to push out farther and farther to give phones increased lifespan. Like, it should be that we don't need to buy these every single year. Like, give us longevity, and that makes it easier to recommend, right? One of the coolest things you can do with this phone, and it's just a monster reason to buy, is that the S24 regular is probably one of the, if not the most modular devices ever made. I said the same thing about the S24 Ultra, but imagine you get all of that in a smaller package for less money. You can take this from just a smartphone that you watch videos on, text, whatever. You add a keyboard and a mouse, and now you've got a little portable note-taking device. You can go from there to include a portable monitor, and now you've got a darn little laptop-like experience through DeX. You can even plug this into a home desk computer setup and use this like a full-time computer. It's remarkable. Yes, DeX is more Chromebook than Windows gaming PC, but that's still perfectly usable and could be somebody's only hand computing device. I've mentioned this in videos past, but if I didn't run this YouTube channel or consistently play too much World of Warcraft, I personally would not own a computer. All this stuff is mostly to support the YouTube video or my crippling WoW addiction. It's not like for my daily use. If you only use a computer to pay bills, write a few documents, take notes for school, I legitimately think that this could save you a ton of money and headaches and all this stuff that you don't need. Another big reason to buy the S24 are the cameras on the back. Yes, these are the same cameras from last year's model, but much like the display, that doesn't mean these are bad. These cameras are actually really good. What I like best is how well the cameras, all of these cameras, the front one, the rear ones, and not just the main one, work under studio lighting. And that's generally pretty rough for small censored cameras. Even my iPhone sometimes struggle in this environment, but I find the color reproduction and just usefulness overall as a content creator is very impressive. And not just technically impressive, like in a demonstration or a product showcase. It's actually useful in the real world. My favorite lens continues to be the front-facing one. There is some resolution loss and additional noise, even when using the same resolution on the front or the back camera, but I think you'd really only notice that if you are a camera nerd. I am a camera nerd. If you are a regular person doing regular things or a content creator that's not a camera nerd, this will absolutely meet your need in any type of creation. Battery life is another reason, actually probably the most important reason, right? To buy the S24. I've regularly found that this phone can easily make it through a full work day's worth of use, even if you were doing something like streaming music all day while ignoring meeting pings or Teams pings. Not that I ever do that. I never ever do that. Though that is kind of less impressive overall, because battery life is starting to be less important to me, because any top-end phone that I've seen in the last few years lasts multiple days with even a little bit of care. It used to be that some phones, even the expensive ones, would die within hours. but I haven't seen that as much recently. It's still the most important spec. If your phone is dead, it doesn't matter how great the display is, but it's more notable if a phone has bad battery life instead of being goodly notable for having good battery life. I don't even barely know how to speak or write English, right? Seriously though, after all my time using the S24 regular, this is the phone to buy inside of the new releases. I think this is the absolute pinnacle convergence of price, performance, and usefulness. Yes, there are better phones, but they are more expensive. Yes, there are cheaper phones, but you start giving up very important features to get that price off. I really think this is the best of the bunch and something that you should totally buy if you are in the market for a brand new phone. But what about you? Do you have an S24 regular? Do you like it or not like it? Let us all know in the comments below, and click here if you want to see the overall S24 playlist and just binge on other cool things released this year. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.